Welcome to Resistance Radio. We're here with Cringechin, who is one of our most high-profile guests we've ever had. And as is tradition, we have a really important question to ask you. Are cats or dogs better comrades?
I'd say cats. No, I'm gonna say dogs. Cats, maybe from like a loyalty perspective, in terms of like if they love you, they will ride for you. They do anything for you. Like I have a cat who's attached to my hip, and I know if I went down, that my dog's growing up would totally run away from me. But I think like in a more practicality standpoint, dogs just like listen more and like they're there to like hype you up. So I'd say a dog.
I think I completely agree with you because dogs care about the pack more than they care about the individual. But theory is useless because there are a lot of actual cats right now in need of comrades. Emma, take it away.
Safe Haven is a cat shelter in Green Bay. It's a place that doesn't make any money and survives entirely off donations. They take care of a ton of cats that can't find homes anywhere else, some with FIV, disabilities, that sort of thing. And if they're on other shelters' kill list, that's another big one. They don't stop with cats, though. Last winter, January, we had a sub-zero cold snap, and Safe Haven risked legal trouble and other different things to bring in about 20 different unhoused folks, so that way they wouldn't die on our streets in the extreme cold. But beyond what it does for the community, it's also very important to me because I worked there for a year and a half during one of the roughest periods of my life, actually, not even just a rough one, the roughest. And it literally saved my life, and it introduced me to an entirely new form of therapy, which is, animals, emotional support cats. Last night, Wednesday, June 24th, a severe thunderstorm collapsed part of the roof. Luckily, all of the cats have been located now, but Safe Haven needs a hell of a lot of help. There are 46 cats currently in need of foster homes, and then Safe Haven itself needs to find a new building. Obviously, as socialists, we hate to beg for money, but there are people who make the world a better place, and especially in our communities, and this is an act of solidarity. Whether that's through donations, emergency fostering, or even just spreading the word, we'll have the links on the screen to the Safe Haven website and the GoFundMe page.
So welcome to, Resistance Radio, Cringechin.
Yay.
There are probably a lot of our regular listeners that are not also super aware of who you are. Tell the people that are watching, listening, like kind of a little bit about your lore. Like you mentioned, you grew up in Dark Rouge, which I love.
Yeah.
Rouge, which we'll talk theater stuff later, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Christian. Online, I go by Cringechin. I stream on Twitch. My partner's a Twitch streamer. He's the GOAT. Love him. Awesome show.
Period.
Yeah.
Shout out.
We
We love you, Austin.
We do.
Yes.
We love Austin. Yeah, and I now live in the Pacific Northwest, but I grew up in Florida, in Southwest Florida. Very conservative area, But honestly, I think like my experience as a gay man growing up there is what like radicalized me, because I, from middle school, I was getting called a social justice warrior. Okay. So,
Love it.
but yeah. And yeah, I'm really passionate about, queerness and queer people and the queer experience, and
Period.
musical theater
Mhm.
and storytelling.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a little tidbit about me. But Pete was like one of the first people that I think Pete was there for my first stream. So yeah.
So glad to have you on. I've known you for a little while, and I got tangled in with this wild cast of characters here. Since we've known each other, and it's sorry, now I'm gonna cry.
Oh,
It's
No,
been a
but
rough week in Green Bay.
It's been awesome. Like this community it's done a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
We've been through a shit
Oh my
shit
god.
year.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
And it's only June.
It's only
and
June.
it's only June. Thankfully, Pride Month,
Oh.
but still June, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Period.
yeah, But yeah, no, but since I've known you, Christian, not that like, ran for office now and got involved with the community. I bought a house.
Yeah.
I was literally like packing my house, playing Minecraft and Rust with Cringechin like a year and a half ago, having no idea what I was going to get myself into,
Yeah.
and showed up at the Elon Musk rally
Yep.
or rally against him, and was sharing in his Discord my whole adventures this whole last year.
Yeah.
And
Hell
now
yeah.
you're on, so
Yeah.
it's really great to have you.
Of
No,
course.
definitely.
Yeah. So
Heck yeah.
And for just for the viewers too that are like, oh, who is that? Because you're not usually
Yeah.
behind the
That's
camera.
Producer Pete.
Yeah. Producer Pete, who's normally the one that is, kind of doing what James is doing today. We joke, Christian, James like has gotten called AI before in like the comments section. So but yeah, Pete, we're happy to have you on, and obviously, we wanted you to be able to chat with your buddy. So
yeah.
Heck yeah. No, Pete and I, we go way back. We played a lot of games, a lot of Rust.
Yeah.
Pete literally
Some
showed when I first
peeking.
started streaming, I played Rust for the first time. And Rust has actually become a game that like I'm obsessed with. I've put too many hours into Rust, truthfully. But Pete showed me the game.
Respect.
He's the one who introduced me to. He got me on Rust. He got me hooked on Rust.
Aw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm trying to get these guys hooked on Rust, but we're going through the Minecraft server phase right now.
Alright,
yeah. Which you
fine.
must go
His
through before you go
endorsement's
through the
enough.
Rust phase. I feel like it has to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
Minecraft then Rust. Like the reason I
Yeah.
loved Rust so much was because I grew up playing so much Minecraft, and so it was like, oh my gosh,
That's-
this feels like adult Minecraft. Like that's how I describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See-
that's how I've been telling everybody.
yeah, I know that is a really interesting, like, some of the Minecraft, like the old Minecraft lore is like crazy, like the how they made that library of like banned books, so like people
That's
in other
awesome.
countries could like go onto the server and like read books that were banned in their countries. And
Yeah.
Minecraft's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just getting my toe in right
No,
now.
it's been
Okay.
funny, Christian, because you and I are actually the same age, and so I grew up with Minecraft, and so getting like Pete on, who's like never played it, and I'm like the one that's like explaining all of like, oh yeah, like we have to go down into the mine shaft, and,
Yes.
like all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
No, showing
I
Minecraft.
found a village on my own the other day.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's like 3 houses. It was cool.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah, Minecraft's great. They've done some really cool things. You can go to Disney World in Minecraft now. There's
Hell
so
yeah.
much stuff. Yeah, Minecraft's amazing. They're trying to build a 1-to-1 of like the world in
Yeah.
Minecraft. That's a project that like a bunch, I feel like Minecraft taught me how to work as a team growing up. Like I always had like my
Mhm.
friends. We'd all play like Minecraft faction servers, and I'd be like on a Minecraft
Hell
drug
yeah.
server and I'm like selling
Oh
and,
my
and
God.
trafficking drugs like through the black market. But like it
Oh,
teaches,
hell yeah.
but Minecraft teaches you how to like work with people, for a
That's a
collective
whole new
cause.
shift into bricks.
Yeah. We all learn teamwork differently. My twin brother was a soccer player. I played a shit ton of Minecraft. So
Period.
Hell yeah!
As you should.
yeah.
Well, and then I mean, I guess moving into some of the topics and stuff that we wanted to discuss today. Speaking of the world, you are a very well-traveled individual. You have
Yeah.
been so many different places, and I am so jealous. Like I said, as somebody who is your age, I've only been out of the country once. So what has been like your favorite country or like vacation that you've been on?
Mm. Okay, I'm definitely like an experience forward person. Like I love experiencing new things. Like I've been on like some vacations where like mainly you just like go to relax, which also can be really nice. But if I'm
Yeah.
like traveling somewhere, like I at least at this point in my life, like I want to see shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say China was probably like my favorite trip.
Oh, I want to go there.
I mean,
so
Japan will
bad.
also
Yeah,
always have like a special place in my heart too. That trip was like electric. But to me, honestly, it sounds cliche, but it's so real. A trip is only as good as the people that you're with and like go on the trip
Period.
with.
Yep.
And I
True.
found myself
Yep.
part of like just an unbelievable, like amazing group of like friends who we go somewhere and we know how to have a good time. So yeah, I would say like also the company in China was I mean in Japan too. It was amazing
Yeah.
overall. But
Yeah.
I would say China was my favorite. Also just from like an experience perspective, I feel like how China is talked about in the West is not even remotely accurate to like
Yeah.
Oh,
what
yeah.
I experienced, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting and like very surreal to like hear all the things that he say about China here in the United States, but then actually go to China and like talk with Chinese people and like see China.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe they have figured some things out that we haven't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that it's always fun too. Like I'll talk to like my relatives here at home, and you know, I grew up in Lee County, Florida. Woo! And
Ooh.
so very conservative, super
Ooh.
dark rouge. And
Ooh.
it's interesting because like
Dark
now,
rouge.
you know, when motherfuckers from my hometown try to talk about China in a negative way, I can just be like, bam, I was there. You know? So I'm like, and take that.
Oh, yeah.
And I left China with such an
Suck it.
intense hot pot
Suck it.
obsession, and I still go to hot pot every week. I've been going
Word.
since we left China. I don't know what it is. It's my favorite food now. It's my favorite food. I got hooked.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hot pot is amazing.
We just got our first hot pot place actually like last
Yeah.
year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I have been there I lost count as well.
Damn.
But I love that China. I'm a big China fan. Kind of like
Same.
Hassan. I consider myself like white Chinese. So
The older I get, the more Maoist I become.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's sick. Yeah, no, it is definitely something to experience. That propaganda, you know, in real life.
Yeah.
Have you been to Greece, Christian?
I was
Cringe
supposed to actually go to Greece this year. It was talked about doing a
Really?
stream trip to Greece with Peach and Sear, but that didn't end up
No.
happening because of like other stuff. But that was like on the agenda, and I was super stoked. We were gonna do
Well,
like
it's beautiful.
yeah, we were gonna
It's
stream.
beautiful.
It was either we were gonna stream Italy and then go to Greece, or go stream Greece and then go to Italy. I can't remember what the situation was, but didn't end up happening.
That's awesome.
But you know,
Well,
That's awesome.
I'm trying to get Peach on one of these Furian trips. Okay, that's my goal. That's my
Aw.
goal.
That
I was like, that's my girl, you know.
That'd be insane.
And
yeah.
she's so funny. She's so funny. She's so
Yeah,
Yeah.
She's great.
we
I
love
would love that.
We
Yeah.
love Peach.
yeah,
well,
I-
I've been. Greece has been the only place I have been, and like a small part of Turkey as well
Mhm.
for like a tour I was on,
Sure.
an educational tour. So super interesting. 10 out of 10 recommend. It's beautiful. Some of the islands, though, not what they're chalked up to be.
Oh.
T.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you were telling me about that, like with Santorini,
Oh, 100%.
that it's
Yep.
like, you know, the place with you always see like the
Blue roofs.
Yeah.
roofs or whatever.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's covered in garbage. Like it's even caked into like the mountain that it's on. Like it is really sad. Like you're just
No.
driving down the street to get to the actual village and there is just trash everywhere. It is really depressing.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like yeah, we just decided to be in the village for the day and then there was like an excursion to go to the volcano itself. The volcano's pretty cool, but and that's exactly why a part of the island actually just broke in half. So the best part of it was literally getting off the boat and you were at like the bottom of this massive cliffside and you see the village up on top. It's beautiful from the bottom of the hill. So it is quite a trek up. So
I mean, all of us. I don't know about you, Eve, but all of us, like the regular host, James, Emma, and I, all grew up like super conservative, and then like
Also in
switched.
Bruges.
Yeah, and I mean Emma, you know, lived in Louisiana for a bit too. So
I've been to
I'm
Louisiana.
Emma's
sure-
lived everywhere.
What a fucking nightmare. I'm so sorry.
Honestly, I kind of lived, but only because like I was
That's fair.
there like very briefly, but I got some like good
That's how you do it.
like Cajun food, so that made it worth it.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah, you're
they
right.
do have a lot of good Asian food down there, that's for sure. And then Cajun cooking is always,
Cajun,
is
yeah.
always banger. I ate myself fat on so much shit down there. But yeah, that's the way to do visiting Louisiana. Make
But
it
did
as
you suck
brief
the
as
heads?
possible. Always.
Always.
They wouldn't let me out of the house or marry my ex-wife for that matter until I sucked the head off a crawfish.
Right.
There you go.
And then I did.
No, that's I was a theater kid as well. So that was something that
It was too.
yes,
I
I
was
mean,
theater adjacent.
I think that there's a lot of us on the left that we're theater kids.
Theater
It's
teaches
spotlights
empathy.
and
That's
cameras.
why. That's it.
Yeah.
It's really it's that
Mhm.
simple. Theater is empathy. Bam. I'm
Mhm.
like that's all. I'm
Love
so pro getting
empathy.
all kids into theater because like
Mhm.
it really teaches you a
AV
lot to
club
put yourself
here.
in someone else's shoes.
Mm.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of you're literally playing a different person a lot of times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
But speaking of that, I will let you know what mine is. Do you have a favorite musical?
Okay. I feel like I always say Spring Awakening because like I was also
Oh.
in Spring Awakening like as a high schooler, and it's a show that like literally led to me coming out as gay. So like that
Aw.
experience, so that it always has a special place in my heart. So I love Spring Awakening. I also just think the music and the lyricism is utterly brilliant. Steven Sater, Duncan
Hell yeah.
Sheik, they're amazing,
yeah.
amazing duo. Um, I also love some of like the classics though. Like I love South Pacific. The music specifically. The story is a little, not a little, very outdated,
Yeah.
but it's just such a
Yeah.
charming musical, and like it's just like peak musical theater. Like it's like when you think about like the like musical theater canon and like the art form that is American musical theater, you know, South Pacific
Mhm.
is like, oh, it's just one of the cream of
Right.
the crop.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna say those for now.
Yeah.
My
I
personal
don't.
It just keeps going.
my personal favorite is kind of a classic though, Billy Elliot. It was one of the first ones that
Peak.
I was in.
One of the Electricity
Um,
was like the first song I like ever sang for an audition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one was really cool, and especially I got to talk like an oi bruv for the
Oi.
for
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
entire
Oi, bruv.
that's awesome though.
Moulin Rouge for me, because and partly because that was part of my coming out, because I realized I was into also men through how attractive Ewan McGregor looked in that. So
Right. Real.
I would imagine he was singing those songs to me in that beautiful velvet Scottish voice he had.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
And then when he put the beard on in episode 3 of Star Wars, that was it.
All right.
All ovaries all the time.
It would be Phantom of the Opera for me.
That's also
Fair.
Classic.
Classic.
Music, I absolutely love it. That kind of story.
Mm.
Say less.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I'm also pretty biased because my brother is actually in a musical currently.
Oh, period.
Or was. He finished up the shows, and it is 1776, so about the founding
I
fathers.
love that musical.
He played Richard Henry Lee, and he did a fantastic job, and he wore like this all pink classic suit, like,
Amazing.
oh my god, amazing. Well, hopefully I'll send this to James and have a picture up here. So he looked absolutely fantastic, and I was proud of him. So that I love that musical too.
Yeah.
So.
Also very poignant. That musical is being done everywhere right now. I feel like everywhere is doing
Yes.
1776. I'm like, I open up Facebook. I'm like, wow, every single person I've ever done a show with ever is in 1776 right now. Cheers.
Yeah, I think it's very important, and
Yeah.
like especially the director was actually in the show itself too
fierce.
for my brother's show,
Uh-huh.
and he even put a little bit of like a little introduction in the actual booklet that we get, and it was kind of addressing the slavery
Mhm.
that was a huge part in it, and he actually was like the evil character who did the song about slavery.
Mhm.
So, and he was talking about how like we can't do this show without talking about slavery.
Of course.
So, and I thought that was like amazing. It was an amazing message.
Yeah.
Very good show, especially for being in a small community theater. So,
exactly.
Pete,
But sometimes those are where the best shows are.
yes.
True.
Yeah.
I was scrambling to think of one off the top of my head, and I couldn't think of one. So I'm just gonna say Hamilton
Real.
Okay.
because I've seen that
Uh-huh.
at least.
And it's
That's
bomb.
always a good pick.
Listen,
Yeah,
there's a reason
it is
Hamilton
good.
is so successful. It's amazing
Mhm.
musical theater.
Yeah.
I need to see more, and
Yeah.
it's because like we have really good theaters around here.
We
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
We do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Period.
no,
Mhm.
definitely.
That's a sign of a healthy
And I
community.
Yes.
Oh, no, our community
Period.
is so
fucking
good, honestly.
preach.
Yeah, let's get into that. Back to the safe haven story. One thing about that was there was at least throughout the 45 minutes or so that we were allowed to be there. There was probably 200 people came through.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hearing
just because they heard.
carriers with their cars, they
Yeah.
were, and there's a news video that we'll have linked in there. But there's this one employee that I got to know when she was there, Faith. she's fucking amazing. Like she was being interviewed by them and she was like,
Popping off.
I don't even care. Like I
Mm.
know that the firefighters are
Popping
here to protect
off.
us, but I will give
Yeah.
my life to save those cats.
But
And I
yeah.
was like, yeah, Faith, go.
So
We know a lawyer. We'll
Yeah.
lawyer up.
Exactly.
I'm going in there to save those cats.
The fire department has been here for almost 2 hours and they will not let us get the cats that are inside. I do understand the humans have to be safe, but there are lives in there that I would definitely risk mine to get out.
do you find your community within your other streamers? Do you where do you get your community? Like
That's a good question. When I moved to Pacific Northwest, I kind of like uprooted my community. Like I, left a lot of my friends, my family, etc. So I definitely have to like reestablish roots here. I feel like I had the tendency to find community online and also like through streaming friends, but I've made a very concerted effort in the past like 6 months to really like establish my people that keep me grounded. So I've got like a lot of people here in Portland now that are some of my like bestest friends. But of course like musical theater has brought me a lot of community. I'm like really really close friends with a ton of people that not only that I went to school with at UM, but also like have done professional theater with. And I think like theater in the process of doing a show really has a strong capacity to bring people together. And so I found a lot of community
Definitely.
that way. Yeah, I would say those are like the two avenues. But theater is even how I like established roots here in Portland. I did a show here. I did a production of Grease. It was chic.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
yeah. And so that was how I made friends. And now like, I've met other people through them. So it's interesting. Like once you meet like, a handful of folks, it's amazing how from those handful of folks, like it branches out and webs out and you can find even more
yeah.
people,
Mhm.
to include in your circle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hell
yeah, because I find like keeping friends outside of celebrity, so to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
is
Well, obviously,
very
yeah, because I'm friends
important,
with
like-
like streamers through like my partner.
right.
Mhm.
And like definitely like growing super close to a lot
Of
of
course.
those streamers.
Yeah.
But yeah, streaming was never something that I like ever really anticipated happening for me. But these were people that I was like had come to know, and I think streaming definitely has
Mhm.
brought me closer to a lot of these people too, because we just spend more time on camera, and by virtue of being on camera, we're also like going on trips together and doing all that stuff. But yeah. So I definitely also have like my streamer friend community too. And there's
Oh,
some
yeah.
amazing folks in streaming. There's also some not so great folks in streaming that have huge platforms for some reason.
Yup.
But well, not for some reason, because unfortunately, there's always gonna be people who are they just live to hate.
They love the cringe.
They love to hate.
Miserable,
They love to
greedy.
cringe. Yeah, they have
Yeah.
horrible ideologies and viewpoints.
Yep.
But yeah. That's where I find my
So-
community.
Oh
good.
yeah,
Hell yeah.
amazing. And of course, you mentioned your partner as well, and obviously being friends with a lot of really big streamers. Is that kind of intimidating for you, like to be around people that big, or
Mhm.
kind of almost being thrown into the spotlight along with your partner
Yeah.
and your friends?
Yeah, it's not really that intimidating necessarily. I definitely think it comes with its own like individual set of challenges, of course. But also like at the end of the day, like they are like, when I turn off all the computers and all the streams are off, whatever, like these are people that are like just in my life by virtue of just like existence too. So so it's like even like I guess I'm not really intimidated because I just like they're just people in my life. Like they're like people who have like
Yeah.
are friends,
That makes
super
sense.
close friends with my partner and stuff. So by virtue of being of that, like we've become close friends. So yeah, not necessarily intimidated, but I definitely think that like being friends with people who are so successful can sometimes like it's hard. I have to remind myself that like we're all on our own individual journey. And like I'm a huge like believer in comparison is a thief of joy. And I think like
Yes.
it's such a
Yeah.
human tendency to compare. And so I have to constantly, check in with myself, be like, okay, like we're all on our own journey. Like I can't think about, where other people are in their life because like what's meant for me will not pass me by. I'm putting in the hard work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And just generally being around the type of people you are, they're mostly like like some are leftist activists, like going out there on the streets, and some are just wacky crazy guys. Like how
The right
like
wing
and you're carving you've been carving your niche, like your area of say Twitch and content creation.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to use your influence being surrounded by those people, but also having your own niche audience? And like, what like, do you have like goals in mind for that sort of like, platform once like you get there,
Yeah.
and and the platform you have.
Yeah. I mean,
as far as
I think about it in terms of like what realistically can I accomplish where I'm at right now, and like what can I do for people at like my size, and like that also intersects with the kind of content I want to create. And so I definitely like at current, I really just try to like sprinkle little tidbits of joy, because I think like
Hell
it's
yeah.
really easy,
Aw.
especially in the leftist space, to get doomer pilled. Like, oh my God, the world is
Yes.
ending.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
there are like so many just absolutely horrible things fucking happening, right? It's like it's hard to reconcile.
Yeah.
Like, especially living here in the United States, like it's hard to reconcile sometimes. Like, oh my God, like I am existing in a place which obviously has so many fucking issues, right? But like I'm safe right now. You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting in my house in Portland,
Yeah.
and like I have like my internet and all this thing, you know what I mean? And I just think about like how
Yeah.
so many people are being deprived of just like that, the ability to just like live in comfort, right? It's hard to reconcile
Mhm.
the things. And so I think that like I just try to like, make people laugh and like be what I like to describe as like a soft place for people to land and not have to worry about
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm very active in ensuring like I'm preserving that peace, because I think people are owed that peace.
I agree.
Of
Within the
course.
context of also fighting for peace for others, so that but in terms of like also like as I continue to grow, like I definitely want to be more outspoken. Not that I'm not already outspoken, because like I will just like fucking say my mind.
Yeah.
Period. Yes.
Hasn't gotten me in trouble yet, so no, but I definitely want to continue to fight, to also just like carve out a space for other queer streamers. I think
Mhm.
like Twitch is a space where there is a huge queer presence, definitely in streaming. I think about like KDB, Vanilla Mace,
Yeah.
Oh, vanilla.
love
I
that.
have so many
I mean, obviously
queer
Austin, right? Like these are
games.
all
Yeah.
gay ass
Mm.
people, but like
Yes.
gays. But who are building platforms on the platform. But I think ultimately that there is just so much homophobia being perpetuated on the website as a product of the generalized misogyny problem on the website. So that's definitely something that I
Yes.
want to like continue, fighting, and hopefully bringing people into the light of like, hey, by saying this, you're being a misogynistic piece of shit,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love that, and that's something Emma always jokes, calls me the gayest straight guy, kind of similar to like how you guys tease Hassan about that. I mean, not that I don't take it as an insult, obviously, but but yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I was a young manosphere chud like during high school,
Yeah.
and had a big political transition.
Period.
Your one of your friends is to thank for that.
And thank God for that, man.
Yeah, and so like that's been something, because we just actually started doing live streams on Twitch as well, so that's been very, very interesting. And it's mostly been me, but I think Emma might make her streaming debut.
Yeah, I've
here
got a lot of
soon.
free time now. So
Yes, but one thing I wanted to kind of have you just elaborate on a little bit more, is like, how do you, as a marginalized person in this country, like what like tips, or like how do you yourself keep the optimism? I know it probably isn't all the time that you are optimistic, but like what are some coping strategies, I guess, that you employ?
I mean, I'm definitely grateful to now be living in an area where people are very accepting and like radically accepting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
True.
Portland is a
Big cities.
very queer friendly city. And queerness is alive here in Portland. Let me tell you, the baddies are
Oh.
queer. The baristas
Yes.
are non-binary, and they are making the best latte you've ever had in your life. Like,
Oh.
I'm,
Damn.
no, yeah, I live. Anyways,
I love me a good latte.
no, me too. But yeah, so I mean, I grew up in a very conservative area, and I definitely, that definitely delayed my coming out for sure. I definitely like had a girlfriend for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
But that's like, a survival tactic. It wasn't even like that,
It's-
right? Like she was also one of my closest friends. So like,
Mhm.
it was what it was. But
It's socialization.
yes,
you know?
exactly. But I definitely think, it's hard to maintain optimism sometimes within those spaces, because it does feel so overwhelming and drowning. But I always say, and like I feel like I'm a testament to it. It always gets better. There are some videos I have of myself in high school, just like at peak getting, you know, roasted for being gay, and it's me putting it lightly. But where I was, you know, like the worst, you know, the worst version of myself. But ultimately,
Right.
like I think with time and with like lived experience, the ability for people to hurt you, because like I've noticed, especially on Twitch, for example, like younger queer communities on Twitch are very reactive, and I think a lot of streamers have found themselves like navigating that. And I think a reality of that is when you're like a young queer person and you're experiencing otherization for the first time, it can be so jarring and hurtful, and like those wounds are fresh, you know. But I will say, like, as I've gotten older, it does become so much easier to like navigate and handle people being like outwardly homophobic. It just doesn't really affect me anymore.
Right.
Like, you know, I used to get called the F slur all the time, like all the time. Even living in Miami in college, you know, I'd be on my runs. I used to run 3 miles every single morning. I'm not that crazy anymore, but like every morning I'd wake up, chug a Celsius, run a 5K, and then go about my day. Like I don't know
Respect.
what I was on in college. Just high off life, truly, and marijuana.
That's-
But,
Yeah.
no, but yeah, I even in college, I just didn't give a fuck anymore. I was just like, work. I mean, true. You know, I'd be running. I'd be like, yep, and keep on running. You know, so I just will say, with time and like lived experience, navigating that hurt becomes a lot easier, because it just becomes stale and old. At the end of the day, like a lot of bigots, they rely on such recycled, reheated nachos bullshit. And like once you
Yeah.
realize that and come to terms
Yeah.
with that and recognize that, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
they've come with absolutely nothing fucking new in the last hundreds and thousands of years of attacking
Right.
people, like, you know what I mean? So like, you know, it becomes easier to navigate. But yeah, I feel like it's valid to feel upset, you know. So I never want to be like, I hate when people growing up and be like, you know, just take it, it'll be okay, you know, it'll, because like it's not okay. Like being talked to in that way and being treated that way because of something that's, you know, uncontrollable about yourself. Like that's such a fucking shitty thing, and you're allowed to be upset about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think,
Preach.
yeah, with time, you become a lot more used to it. I guess stronger. You know, they always say
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
grief, for example, changes, and I think that's actually true for a lot of
Yes.
feelings and a lot of emotions. You know, and like internalized homophobia, it never really goes away, but it changes. You know, and your relationship with it changes.
Yeah.
And you become accustomed to it. You learn to live with it. And exist outside of it. You know, so yeah.
Yes.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah, slayed. You slayed that.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. James has something he wants to say.
Oh, sure.
On the lighter side of some of that, I grew up super conservative Christian. I was taught being gay is a choice. And when I got out of that, it took me 3 boyfriends to realize that it's not a choice and there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
I believe that makes me straighter than most straight men out there.
Well, really, you know, really, like when I think about like
not wrong.
homophobic.
Yeah.
No,
Not at all.
first of all, yes. When I think about homophobic language, right? Like at the end of the day, like it's when people, if it affects you, it shows that you have internalized homophobia, right? Like the only reason
Yeah.
why calling me an F slur works is if I also don't love that part of myself. Because I love that part of myself,
Yep.
it like doesn't affect me anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still think
Yeah.
people should say it should, like, you know, face accountability, but you know, it doesn't affect me
Right.
anymore.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think like when people get offended or upset, like especially like straight men who like think it's offensive, I'm like, you don't realize that you're just outing yourself a little bit. Like
Yep.
Yeah.
to be honest, like you are like showcasing that you have internalized homophobia, because then you're just projecting, bro. Like you're just
Right.
projecting internalized homophobia. But
Yeah.
and I think it's interesting too. There's a lot of queer discourse, a lot of discourse in the queer community and around queer theory about like, you know, whether like that particular point of like, oh well, maybe it's just internalized homophobia. I do think there are some people who are just homophobic and aren't gay themselves, but also I think there is some truth to it. And I think like, you know, but I also want to make it clear that I'm not putting that blame on the queer community, because I feel like to be a
Oh,
part
right.
of, not to be a part of
Right.
the queer community, but like, you know, solidarity with the queer community looks like not being a homophobic mess, you know. Look, yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. But yeah.
No, yeah. Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and I agree too, because like it, like for a good example of this, well, it's not a good example, it's actually terrible, but a lot of, when I first came out, a lot of the trans girls that I met and trans girl spaces that I was in, the most common thing that they talked about was how they caught their transphobic dads looking at trans porn. I think the internalized homophobia is part of it, of like, or excuse me, not internalized homophobia, but like being gay, but being raised in a way where they were meant to hate it, and so that makes them think that they're not gay and
Yeah.
think that they hate
Yeah,
it.
that's
And
like the
then-
social norm, social status, and the culture that you were
Yeah.
raised in.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it seems much more logical to me that most humans would fall under, at the very least, bisexuality, where it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
maybe it's only like 50-50, or maybe it's 60-40, I don't know. But
Animals are whatever they want to be.
Yeah.
There's lesbian penguins at our zoo.
Animals
There
are
are.
animals are
Yes.
freaks.
Speaking of zoo, when are you going to come out and tour the zoo?
Yeah.
And I've been saying I'm gonna do that. When I figure out the tech and have the money for the tech, you know.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And I this is complete just ADHD. I was gonna bring this up earlier. Did not have to do with what we were just talking about. But I actually had an idea, Christian, that I thought would be really cool. I think like a Twitch musical of some sort, like put on by like creators, like directed by, like, even if you wanted to direct it or something and have like different stars, people in that, I think would be absolutely fire.
Yeah.
so the
We've been
first
talking
thing
about
that I
it.
thought of was the COVID video that they all did.
So,
Yeah, and then they also do Christmas musical.
That
Oh yeah, the
Cutie
Christmas
puts on-
concert.
Uh,
But yeah,
true.
I think it'd be
But I'm
yeah, I think it'd be cool to do like an actual Twitch musical and like,
yeah.
have
Oh,
people
yeah.
write it.
Oh,
For
that'd
sure.
be
Yeah,
cool.
that would be maybe I'll talk to Cutie Cinderella about that. That's a good idea.
Would just be worried
Yes.
about you got Twitch streamers who are just their own breed, and the ADD of all of that and the schedules
Could be
and
entertaining
I
and
don't
hilarious.
imagine
Yeah,
having to try-
however,
at least
I think there's
it
more
could be a beautiful car wreck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's actually a lot of closeted theater kids on Twitch. Okay, a lot of people who
Oh.
have outed themselves
Absolutely.
at theater kids me behind the scene that I would never out.
Yup.
But trust, there's a lot of theater kids on Twitch. And also, there's
Pop
like
off.
creators like Yana who like is
Damn.
like unashamedly a good theater kid. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
bringing that radical theater kid
Yeah.
representation. So it's not, I don't think a Twitch musical is far off.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
All right.
What's up?
I'll be excited to see it.
Yeah.
All right. It looks like we are getting ready for our plan segment here.
Yay.
Yes. So, Christian, one thing, that I love about you and your content and everything is your fashion and your style is impeccable.
Oh,
and,
as I wear just like a Hassan shirt and a Smokey Bear hat, I'm like, I should have.
Yes.
Impeccable.
Thank you.
yeah. So we thought it would be kind of funny to do, because something that I've said on stream that we always just bring up how chuds and a lot of people like that just have no drip.
No drip. Yeah. No
Yep.
drip.
Yeah, we wanted to play a little game where we were going to look at different either influencers or just random people on the street, and you were going to critique their outfits and
Okay,
let us know if
perfect.
they were slaying or not.
Okay.
So yeah, we have a little presentation starting off strong here. When I was putting this together, I didn't want them all to be crazy. But yeah, I guess
We're starting with the
Band-Aid
craziest
off,
one.
is what you're saying?
yeah.
Okay.
She always holds herself like she's like mogging, like severely mogging everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, girl,
Damn.
like, why does she look like she's about to film like a still frame in a Hunger Games movie?
For
like,
real.
looking
She's
up at
trying
the
to
tributes
fake
dying.
cry.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, I mean, Miss Girl she's a mess.
It's like she's trying to hold court.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't.
Embarrassment to woman.
Yeah. She's just such a mess as a
Judge
person that like
Cody over here.
an
He's-
aspect of clothes too. They're just never gonna look good on someone who is evil.
Yeah,
like,
that's
truthfully.
true.
Uh,
It's like you're a 10, but also evil.
but
so
you're
basically-
not Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Like you don't look. This is
Yeah.
not.
For
This is not. This
real.
is not cunty. Yeah, I think she looks like really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Or at the very least, she's cunty in the bad way.
Yeah. Exactly.
Isn't there some evil Disney princesses that slay don't they look good? No.
The evil queen.
Yeah.
No, but also the
Oh,
evil
no,
queen
so
did look
villains
good.
look awesome. But
Ooh,
Yeah.
she kind of did look. See,
Okay.
the evil queen tore, but like, I just feel
Yeah.
that Erica Kirk is never. Also, like the MAGA makeup will just always drive me up a
Yeah.
wall.
Oh.
Like,
Oh,
We'll get there.
yeah.
We'll get there.
Oh my,
Yeah.
yeah. The makeup is
Okay.
a choice.
And I will say too, before we get into the next ones, it is so hard to find like MAGA influencer men that are not wearing fucking suits. Like
Yeah.
they always just wear.
That's why
like,
Hassan
it
started
was
wearing
legitimately
suits.
a challenge. Yeah.
Because
No
they
way.
try to-
That's why.
well, it's not
Yeah.
like solely the reason why, but like,
Yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
like people take people more credibly or seriously when they're like dressed in formal attire. So it's like one of the strategies they
Okay,
use
yeah.
to like, make it
Yeah.
seem like they know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah,
even though
from a
they-
sociological standpoint.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
That
So.
Oh
this
my
is-
God.
This was a
Grand
lady-
MAGA. I love her.
Oh my goodness.
She was in multiple of the Good Liars videos.
Oh, boy.
And,
Absolutely insane.
are you familiar with her?
No, I've watched The Good Liars, but I'm not familiar with whoever this diva is.
Oh,
Just real happy
we
looking
can
mess.
send you a clip.
I didn't
She's
check.
interesting.
Like, yeah, it's not drip. Her hair looks crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck the tubes, like what that moment is. Also the glasses I'm confused by. I'm confused by it all. It's
They look like
It's-
swim goggles almost.
What is the hat?
the hat, right?
Oh, it's
the hat of it all.
bedazzled.
I just
No way.
I feel like this does a disservice to the American flag. You know what I mean? Like they're always talking about like the you
Yeah.
know, like we need to protect the sanctity of the American flag. I'm like, and y'all just always throw these colors in just the messiest, most like chuggiest
Yeah.
ways possible. Like this is so chuggy.
we started calling them that on our streams that they were spangled.
Yeah, she's very
That was
spangled.
me.
This was also
God.
this is more of a
What?
basic one. I
I
feel
can't
like
see-
I don't. Is that a shark on the shirt? Like, what is going on?
yes,
give us barely anything.
it's a bunch
I
of red, white, and blue sharks.
Okay.
What?
Right.
It's
Right.
like a
guess.
fishing
No-
shirt?
no
It's
one
absolutely like
doesn't
a fishing
associate the
shirt.
American
Ugh.
flag with sharks.
Yo, there's so many people who like wear these fishing shirts like just like unironically in their day to day lives. Like
Yeah,
this
that's
is
like
their
that's
style.
like standard.
So
That's
Florida,
standard Thursday
so
on a Florida.
so
Yeah.
Gulf
Yeah.
Coast. Like she's probably from Texas to be honest. Just by
For
looking at the
real?
people
You're not-
around
yeah,
her and what
You're
she
not
looks
wrong.
like. She looks very Texan. But they like wear these fishing shirts unironically all the time, and I'm just like, why? They look
Yeah.
so bad. They're so ugly. Then like the fabric is
It's like-
ugly. The fabric
Yeah,
is
Like
so
checking a
ugly.
box.
Yeah.
It's also just looks like it looks so much like plasticky and like just so like refined and nasty. I don't know. I just can't. I
Yeah.
hate those shirts so much. I think they're so ugly.
Yes,
So yeah. Also a
hell
mess.
yeah.
All of their stuff is very performative, and that was something that I found in Louisiana too. It's just that
Oh my
women
God.
culturally
What
would be
is
very
that?
performative. They'd wear the fishing gear, the hunting
Yes.
gear, all that jazz.
Yes.
There was a mega fashion show apparently.
No.
And this is
They did
yes, and that is what this. I couldn't find any video clips of it, but I could find pictures.
That's
And
tragic.
Is that a sunburn?
That is
Is
tragic.
that a sunburn?
Absolutely, yes. They don't believe
Oh
in
my
sunscreen.
god.
like jeans and
What?
like
In the denim
Wash
on denim.
jeans?
Wow.
yeah.
I
Wow.
do wash jeans.
Yeah, this is
I
this is
do
real
denim on
bad.
denim.
Like this is atrocious.
I feel like this is
but-
one of those where like he totally thought he ate. Of
Of course. The designer thought they ate, you know?
Skin.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sunburn though.
yeah,
Is he
just
wearing
a
Uggs?
mess.
And I think you would pull off denim on denim way better than this chud.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I'm just confused. The shoes are awful
Is it-
too. The shoes have no like. There's and the red is so ugly. The MAGA red is so ugly. It's ugly. It's an
Or the
ugly
hat
red.
or the sunburn?
It breaks the camera sensors red.
Literally, yeah.
Oh
It
my
looks
God.
fake. Like
Yeah.
it distorts the hat every
Yeah.
time because it's just that bright and ugly.
This wasn't originally part of the main presentation, but we wanted, I think Eve particularly wanted to know your thoughts on, and like you said, the makeup and plastic surgery.
Well, everyone was walking on eggshells to include this, and I'm just like, it's appropriate. It's Botox,
Yeah.
and
we wanted
it's
to do it
Mar-a-Lago
before and
face.
after because they're
Like-
choosing to look like that.
Yes, I think that's very important here because I honestly think all of them are very beautiful looking women
Yeah.
in the before shots.
Yes.
I completely agree with that, but then for them to actually feel the need to pump their faces full of garbage per se, I just it's sad. It's sad it had to go to that. And I think it's like also a psychological aspect for me and for the perspective of women, like having to look younger and meet that beauty standard,
yeah.
it's
I think.
I think it's very more disappointing, but it's also embarrassing.
Mhm.
I was fucking saw a beauty standard. Look at Laura Luma's ass over there.
Picture for Laura Loomer looks like Valak, the nun demon from The Conjuring. Like it just, I'm like, where's the habit? Oh God, it's coming.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to like the social climate that they facilitate, like in
Exactly.
their movement, and two, like it makes me sad because like Caroline talks about this too. It's like aging is beautiful. Like aging is such a beautiful
Yep.
process, and it's a
Mhm.
privilege.
Yes.
And like I like recently, I in my musical theater program, like one of the current students like really suddenly passed away, and it like has put a lot of stuff in perspective for a lot of people in
Aw.
my life. But I think a huge thing a lot of people are talking about is just like how indiscriminate our time is here, and you just never know. So
Yes.
aging is a
Yeah.
privilege, and I think like it's beautiful. I hate this notion that we have to like maintain this youthful like
Yep.
like
Mhm.
moment for because it's also just not realistic.
We
And
support
Yeah.
their decision to do it though.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Wanna
do
do
what
it,
you got to
yeah,
do
but
to
if
make
that-
yourself feel confident.
Yeah.
I will never dog on someone for getting plastic surgery.
Right.
Yep.
It's just, but see, these are the same people who are trying to like ban gender affirming care, and I'm like, well, what
Exactly.
y'all are doing is gender affirming care.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mine are
exactly.
looking a lot better than you guys. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
No, I love that you said that because I take minoxidil and I will always tell people like, oh, I take gender affirming care, 'cause,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I mean, that's what it is.
No, it is
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got insulted for our hairlines one time, and he started minoxidil.
Yeah,
And
true.
who finally talked you into it was influencer streamer Will.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the
'Cause
the
he
boys are
preaches
all
about
they
the
boys all use
faithless.
that shit.
And Hassan too.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
all
Oh.
Austin too. They all use it. They all use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But like,
Because even if you have good hair, it makes it even better.
yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
I particularly liked this one because of the clash of colors.
That's a way to put
The
it.
bedazzled hat as well.
What
I
is up
think.
with their
Spangled.
obsession in
Spangled?
spangling?
yeah. Imagine.
Bedazzling, but it's the spangled. But there has to be a combo there.
Usually
dog
bedazzling
tag.
looks nice, but
Oh, I didn't
tag is
notice it.
crazy.
Is it spangled too?
no, it's just a normal dog tag.
You know me saying it now.
Yeah.
The
I know,
button
I
on the
think-
hat, just
Oh god. It's massive.
Like this is something that I've said too. Is like I always think it's funny. Like they'll show like a leftist protest,
yeah.
and like unironically, all the people there are like eating. Like
Yeah,
they're
or
just
they're
there.
really dressed like
No,
protesting.
serving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know how to dress.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
All
In
right.
fact,
well,
my favorite one was a picture of me and Eve at our second No Kings protest, where we were right at the front of it and the sun was coming down.
Oh, hell
and it
yeah.
Just framed us perfectly.
We ate.
Period.
You more than me though, especially with those glasses.
so this is a bit of a 2-for-1
Oof.
combo here. We got Joe Rogan and Bill Maher.
I fear that I
Oof.
have the shirt that Joe Rogan.
I mean, that's a classic shirt, to be honest.
He's just
But-
defaming it. But those shorts is atrocious. Like what are we doing? I just feel like a
Yeah.
lot of like conservative men, they just have no concept of color coordination, like at all.
Never.
I can't speak on it too much.
No
I'm kind of
offense.
wearing a random ass outfit right now, but to be fair, the shorts match. They're like it all ties in.
Oh.
It all ties
Oh,
in. It all
damn.
ties
Yeah.
in. And I got
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Uggs. Oh,
Hell yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
it all ties in though. Okay, every color is represented.
Yeah.
Multiple
You
times.
always eat.
Yes.
But
Okay.
yeah, I just think there's no concept of color. The shoes. Oh my god, the shoes. I just
Are those Skechers slip-ons? Because no hate, those things are comfortable.
No.
I think those are
What is
Hoka's.
behind them?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're,
Are
and then
those-
And then I also just love the juxtaposition with how Bill Maher is dressed too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
He looks
Uh,
like a 4-year-old that tried to dress himself.
There's all yeah. Also, they never went the flannels to coordinate either. I'm like, come on, like it's so basic. It's so easy to make the flannels coordinate. Like, why?
Oh yeah,
And see,
Why?
yeah. Now, I would like to say like the Midwest has the final game.
yeah, for sure.
Yep.
the Pacific Northwest is.
We
known
got
for
some good flannels
too
here.
out there.
Yeah, not too much of
Yeah.
the Pacific
Yeah,
Northwest
there
There
flannels.
was that northerner flannels.
I was curious if what you would think about this one
No,
because I
no,
know
a
Elon
mess,
thinks he's
a mess,
serving.
a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess.
You can
a
tell
mess.
he thinks he's serving by his position.
I wish I could almost have like covered up the face so we didn't quite know who.
Those
was.
pants are awful. Like I just can't. Like why is he doing himself like that? Like I don't love form-fitting pants to be honest. Like skinny pants, skinny jeans.
Yeah.
Personally,
Mm-mm.
I know some people can really work them. I just don't love them. I think I just don't. I just can't. Those are too
Mhm.
skinny for me. Don't even get me started on like the way the jacket. Like it just all looks.
Fighter
He looks
jacket.
like
You're
he's
not.
wearing
You're not.
like a one piece like not the anime, but like like
Yeah.
generally like one piece of just like
Like
long
a jumpsuit.
a jumpsuit, and then a jacket over it. It's bad. It's bad. And
Yeah,
the
but
shoes
You're
are
not a fan
bad.
of like you're not a fan of the aviator jacket
No.
style.
No, I love an
No.
aviator jacket, just not in this
Okay.
context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in this context,
Just not on him.
Yeah, and bro's also just trapezoidal. I hate this stuff.
Yeah. Frog body, square headed ass.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what headwear he was going to be wearing before the picture even rolled over.
This one I thought was funny because this is like just default, like you spotted a GTA.
No, dead ass.
clothes.
Yeah,
Literally.
yeah.
Yeah, he just looks like a
Or
like
like
a GTA
half the
NPC.
people around Bakersfield.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
Did you get any good drip? Is there any good drip in here?
I mean, I honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think that Erica Kirk, like, I thought that dress that she was wearing
Oh, that
wasn't
was the good-
horrible. I didn't think it was that bad in my opinion.
I just think
Okay.
but-
because
On
it's
somebody
her
else.
wearing it, like I just won't ever be able to see it
Yeah.
in like a
Okay,
country
I
way.
agree.
Valid,
Like I'm gonna
yeah.
acknowledge my bias.
But put it
Valid.
on
I
now
think she
and
makes it
then.
look bad.
That's fair.
knowing who this person is a
Let's
self-report.
just leave it blank.
Mm.
Let's have your take.
Oof.
He's wearing he's got something on. He's not naked.
Gee.
No,
No?
no,
Wait.
that is the guy that was on Jubilee who
Oh.
told Mehdi Hassan that he is like a Catholic fascist. This is just another, I feel like, default fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
I
bros
mean,
in
it's
long
just a
sleeve.
shirt and bottoms.
Are those sweatpants or
It's
jeans?
almost like an ugly Christmas sweater in July.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah,
Christmas.
Oh.
Is he turning into Two-Face?
yeah.
That is a outfit that he unironically paraded around in, that being a good old JBP himself.
AKA Kermit the Frog?
I'm like, I don't know what the
But,
context is.
Yeah, he just looks like Two-Face without the face
Yeah,
injuries.
yeah. It's a choice. Can't
those
knock
his
him on.
eyebrows?
Can't knock him for making a choice. But
Oh my god. Can you imagine Two-Face in the animated series and stuff with his voice? Oh my
Oh.
god.
the thing
so much
is,
less
though,
activity.
is like, I don't know, like, do you think that like somebody could pull off a jacket like that that's like two colored? Like, I just feel like with the suit, it's
Christian could.
weird.
Yeah.
You might be
Christian
maybe, yeah. But I feel like these two colors don't really work well. I think you can do something like this. Like I don't think the idea is bad. I just fear that the execution is poor.
Yes,
that-
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, because you see some pretty wild
That was the
fashion being in LA a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
my
yeah, yeah. There's
God.
some people who I'm like, wow, that is an outfit.
See, this one, I didn't think this one was that bad. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene, obviously, but
Yeah,
She's wearing 3 different colors.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not bad. I just, yeah, it just doesn't like really go that well together. But like, it just feels like she went into her closet. She had like 3 different pieces from like 3 separate different outfits, and then tried to build
Yeah.
an outfit around them. So they just don't feel like they go
Yes.
together well. Like they don't really like. Yeah, the jacket is really weird
Mhm.
against the pink, in my opinion.
I appreciate that insight. Definitely,
course.
that was fun. One thing that we wanted to talk about too, it does tie into the LA fashion and everything, was thrifting and how popular thrifting has become.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I
I
love
would
to
imagine
thrift.
We got to go thrifting together, Christian.
Yes, I'm game.
Let's go thrifting.
I'm game. The Midwest thrifting
Word.
is boots.
That's what we were gonna say.
It's real
Yeah.
good. There's some
We
good
didn't
pieces in
even
the
have to-
Midwest. I've done
No,
some,
for real.
Yep.
I've had some good thrifts. I will say, like, Portland spoils me. Like a lot of people who are selling secondhand clothing, their life's mission, and they curate
Yeah.
some of the
Mhm.
most beautiful little collections. So I always find like real good goodies here for sure. Like even the crew neck that I was wearing earlier today, it's a camo crew neck. It was a little chilly this morning in Pacific Northwest,
Hell
and
yeah.
Ooh.
thank God, it was a nice little break. But yeah, I got a compliment on it. And I was like, oh, I thrifted this. A lot of the pieces that I feel like I thrift and find, I get more compliments on than like newer stuff. I think people really do appreciate like a good piece of vintage clothing, a good thrift. Yeah, but in the Pacific Northwest, it's amazing. I've only had like a few experiences thrifting in the Midwest. I had an ex-boyfriend and we like used to drive for his dad's wheelchair selling business to like
Oh.
random retirement homes across the Midwest
Oh.
and the South. It was like a really interesting gig, but we did it. So I can pull a big ass trailer and a big ass truck now, with ease.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Light
Hell
work,
yeah.
and I can get that shit through a Chick-fil-A drive-through too. So
Oh,
Even better.
yeah. Yeah, I basically like lived out of this like big ass truck. It was honestly, I kind of lived, but yeah. So I did some thrifting then, and we found some cute stuff. But I haven't like spent extensive time in the Pacific or in the Midwest. So I definitely like want to go back. Does Chicago count? It does, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
for real.
Chicago's got good thrifts. I've done some thrifting in
Mhm.
Chicago, and I found some cute stuff there too. But
You need to do like some small town,
Yes.
middle of nowhere,
Yes.
dairy farm area, like thrifting, and
Yes.
you'll find some.
there's some gold
like,
mines.
awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of like cool.
What was
vintage
it
shirts.
like in LA?
Yep.
Just like super oversaturated, watered down, or
Los Angeles, I have very mixed feelings about LA because I have grown to really appreciate LA and love LA for what it is. But you have to know what it is, I think. I think there's like a perception of Los Angeles. It's this like, granted, there's a lot of people who do ball out and like spend a lot of money and like
Yeah,
exist.
yeah.
Mind you, they're all spending above their means. But Los Angeles does have this like certain vibe to it. But there's some good shopping in LA. The fashion is very, very loud. But there's also like some like cute, like there's definitely some movements in like the Los Angeles like fashion scene that are a lot more like practical, but like really cute basics, like finding really cute basics. But also like of course like luxury and designer wear is very like
Yeah.
like spanned. People love their
Mhm.
luxury wear in Los Angeles. Like their luxury
yeah.
goods and stuff. I feel like I'm always gonna have appreciation for people who can put together a good thrifted fit with like really cool like silhouettes. And cool fabrics and like interesting shapes that over like someone who's just like flexing the money that they have. But there are some
Hell yeah.
cute designer pieces. Like I'm never gonna like
Oh,
dog on
yeah.
that because like Vivienne Westwood, I have a little necklace from there and I love them.
Aw.
It's so cute, but like some of them. So yeah, a lot of people who were just like, oh, okay, so the only reason that you think this shirt is cute is because it has Gucci all over it. Like, that'll never be cute to me,
Right. I actually do have a couple Supreme shirts because I wanted to be a hypebeast so bad in like early high school.
That
Yeah.
was
and
a
all
huge
of that.
phase, though.
Yeah.
Huge phase.
It was a phase,
That- yeah.
But I will say, I do think it is funny talking about like just fashion in general because, now even these like fast fashion brands are making like vintage shirts,
or like
stuff
their
like
attempted
that.
vintage shirts. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And it's like that literally the point of a vintage shirt is that it's something that you found somewhere.
Well, like Zendaya wore a vintage Spider-Man shirt, and first of all, it says Spider-Man is probably not vintage in the way that, or as a millennial that's 35. I feel some type of way when something from 1999 is called vintage. Because I'm like,
Yeah,
wait,
that's
hold on. I
diabolical.
think I'm getting too old.
Yeah.
I mean, I am that type of person to basically, I love oversized clothes myself. Like, I always, like, for me, I'm like, well, now I'm a large. Usually, like, for normal wear, but then I always, like, I'm like, ooh, give me, like, an extra large, maybe 2X, because I like this shit baggy.
Yeah,
you
me
know?
too.
Like, what about you? Is it usually kind of the same?
Yeah. I'm wearing a baggy ass shirt right now. I love this is like I think it's like an extra large maybe or a large. I love baggy clothing.
Francesca Hong is a candidate for governor. I think Hassan is planning on doing something with her.
Oh, cool.
And she's a socialist running for governor.
Caroline's had her on.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Sunday or Monday,
You could have her on if
stay
you want.
posted.
Yeah, she's super cool. But we like got her on the pod when we were getting like maybe 10 views an episode because we like ran into her and she was like just super down to earth and like, sure, I'd love to be on. Like and so we had her on in October. And then like a couple weeks ago, I'm checking Twitter and I see just this random like conservative news thing clipped our show with Hong in October. And it was her talking about how like I had basically asked her like, oh, like, how important is it to have somebody that stands up to Trump? And then she was like, if it came down to it, I would deploy the National Guard on these ICE agents that are like fucking around, which is like a good
Badass.
take.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next thing I know, it's like on all over MAGA Twitter. It was just
No.
like, yeah, there
They
was
made it
like,
to Fox.
yeah, there was like
Oh.
a
Made it to Fox News.
No
accounts with
way.
like
Of
millions.
course, they didn't
followers.
fucking put our shit in
Yeah.
there. though.
Our infamous
They didn't
form-
credit us.
Yeah.
Huh?
7 views on Spotify.
Yeah.
7 more views on Spotify. Yeah, because they didn't.
They didn't
credit.
want
Yeah.
us to get the stuff. They
Yeah.
just wanted
But
to.
the reason I said that, it was just funny because it was like, that was when like we didn't have the space and I was in my room. And so they were all like making fun of it, like,
Yeah.
oh, look at, they're in their room. But it was like, yeah, it
nasty
was-
ass basement.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know what? There's been many a podcast that start that way. Okay,
Right.
everyone
Right.
has to start from humble beginnings. Okay,
Yes.
I didn't even have
Unless
I didn't
your
start with
parents
I didn't even have a streaming setup when I first started. I used my boyfriend's. Like,
Aw.
we all
But you
started.
kept that
humbly.
janky ass, dirty, like that nasty chair though.
Okay, not too much on my chair.
It's character. It's
It's seasoned.
Yeah,
Like a cast iron pot.
exactly, exactly.
How
It
you know
would
it's
make
cozy.
a sickening mecha chameleon spot.
I will say,
I do have a dog, but this I don't know if is this even on camera.
It's a Farley plush. Yes, I do exactly. What
He's
it was when I
humping
saw
our
it.
Lenin statue.
Like, that's the
Yeah.
Farley plush.
yes.
I want one.
But also,
You don't have one?
No, I don't have a. Will
steal
was supposed to
one,
send me
send
Neff
me
sauce
one.
too, and he never did.
You still haven't tried. You tried it though.
Well,
This is
someone
the-
gave it to me at TwitchCon, and then Will, and then Will
Oh.
took the Neff
This is
sauce
the
that someone
studio
gave me
cat.
and regifted
Oh,
it.
oh,
Studio
Perfect.
kitty!
Fucking.
Oh, what a big,
Big
stretch!
stretch.
Yeah, her name is Kibbles. She is a year old.
Oh,
There's the butthole,
Kibbles.
and she was a safe haven cat as well.
Oh,
So,
cute!
she was the first kitten that I learned how to feed before her eyes were even open.
Oh, she's so
And-
perfect.
Obviously, when I went to adopt my own, I was like, well, how could I not?
Oh, big stretch.
Big stretching.
Yeah, so and the big
And Olivia
yawn.
Penge.
My boy was also a safe haven boy.
Yeah.
Cute.
He's great.
I love that.
He's a gray and white tuxedo. He's a very handsome boy. I'll send him in the Discord later.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was really curious about your coming out story. We kind of like Emma said earlier on break that we kind of just went around the topic. Like obviously it seems like you're open to talking
sure,
about it.
yeah.
And I mean, like my coming out story is pretty boring as coming out as bisexual. So I mean, like my dad basically still doesn't acknowledge
Oh, damn.
it. Yeah. But oh my god, my mom, she absolutely fantastic. Like she thinks she's freaking pansexual and she doesn't even know what it means.
Fierce.
Like she's just like, I love people. Maybe I am that one. And I'm like,
Work.
I love those kinds of moms.
period. And then my dad just kind of he's there. Like I put up a pride flag outside of our house and he's just dealing with it. And
Word.
it's just like, okay, yeah. But I'm really, really curious about yours.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm also an identical twin, which we haven't talked about, but I have an identical twin brother, so I always grew up with sort of like a carbon copy version of myself as like my best
Yeah.
friend. And so
Aw.
I definitely think that like being an identical twin like complicated the situation a little bit for me because I kind of always knew how to blend in because I could just kind of act like my brother and be like him and sort of like exist within like the framework that he established and like set up for us. So that was how I kind of like navigated like, you know, being gay in a place where it wasn't really socially acceptable, was just sort of like kind of being an extension of my brother. Like I feel like a lot of my identity was rooted in what my brother did. Like I played soccer with him and I would like play the same games as him and like all of our friends were the same. Yeah, and then in high school I discovered that I really, really, really enjoyed singing. I did it a lot in middle school too. I was in choir and I was singing with symphonies, and then I did an opera. I was a couple operas.
Wow.
I'm very tapped into like the classical musical space, and then I discovered musical theater. Like getting into high school, and started doing professional work, and I ended up landing in a production of Spring Awakening. And at the time, I was dating a girl for 2 years because it was just like how I socialized. You know, your closest
Right.
friend
Yeah.
that's a girl, you date, sort of thing. And I was in a production of Spring Awakening, and she wasn't in the show with me, so it was like a lot of like, you know, I was rehearsing long hours because I was also a part of like, it was a conservatory production, which meant like we were training in addition to being in the show, so it was very long days. And so I had a lot of time like sitting with myself and reflecting, and then obviously the material itself is about like sexual awakening. And I remember like there's two gay boys in the show that like they have like their whole love track. And I remember like seeing that on
Mhm.
stage and just being like so like infatuated and realizing like, oh my gosh, like I want that so bad. That would be amazing. Like men are really hot. And like granted too, like the hunch, and also
Right.
at the time I was like, wow, he's so hot. And I remember like there's a song in the show called My Junk, and
Yeah.
Oh,
trigger
damn.
warning, I'm about to objectify a man, but he does this like whole little moment where like he's like literally jerking off on stage basically to like
Oh.
a photo of a guy. And I would sit there with like my friend, her name is Taya, and well at the time she identified as a man, but now she's a beautiful,
Yeah.
well, she is a beautiful trans
Period.
woman. I live
Period.
for Taya. I miss her so much. She's one of
Mm.
my closest friends growing up. And we would like sit backstage and like, you know, we were like theater gays, you know, like in the sense of like we were like
Hell
chatting
yeah.
and we'd be like,
Yes.
I would be like, damn, he's so fine. And Taya was like one of the first people I ever came out to. And so I'll always cherish her because she made it such a safe
Hell yeah.
experience for
Aw.
me. But yeah, that show was like my awakening, if you will. And so
Oh, yeah.
I like definitely had always felt othered for a long time. And I think a lot of queer people, like, you know, that's a very universal experience, like recognizing that I am not like my male counterparts. And I really struggled to connect with like other boys my age growing up. I was just like I was a lot more sensitive, I suppose, because I just like realized I was like, well, that what you guys are saying is mean, like, or if they engage in homophobia, you know, like it would like really affect me. And yeah, but then I did spring awakening, and then I like was like, you know, doing dance conditioning, to myself, and I was listening. I don't even know who I was listening to be honest. Probably Lady Gaga, truthfully. I was still listening to Lady Gaga,
Period.
even though
Yeah.
like I was supposedly straight.
Classic.
Which, granted, anyone can listen to Lady Gaga, but alas,
Right. No,
I was
we
listening
don't
to Lady
do
Gaga in
deep.
a very homosexual way, and
The queen.
the Queen.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And I just like got up. I remember so vividly walking into my mom's room. She was like making the bed, and I was like, Mom, I have something to tell you. Just letting you know that I'm gay. And she like I haven't even told this her in a long time, to be honest. So like I'm like, oh my gosh, that just gave me chills like thinking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she was like very affirming, very thankfully like
Oh.
my mom is the woman that she is, and she like, you know, has no problem with like the LGBTQI plus community.
Yeah.
She's very supportive, very affirming, and so she was just super nice about it. And I was like, Mom, please tell everyone. So my mom like told
Aw.
my family, and like I'd already come out to my twin brother. He was like the
Yeah.
first person outside of Taya that I come out to. I came out to my twin brother actually first, and he like I'll never forget, we were just like driving home, and I would drive my brother everywhere because he didn't have a driver's license. And so I would always drive my twin brother, and he would just didn't give a fuck because he ended up getting his license to like maybe our senior year of high school, because I would just drive him everywhere. And I like picked
Yeah.
him up from his friend's house, and we were just driving, whatever, we were talking, and he was like, "Do you?" He was like, "Do you like boys?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Word."
Yeah.
And he was like, "So are you bisexual?" I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, "Okay, well, I don't care." I was like, "I know." And so yeah, it was like this
Hell
really,
yeah.
and we never talked about it
Aw.
again until like then I like finally come out, and then since then we've had like more lengthy conversations about like, you know, my lived experience as a gay man, and he asked questions, and like one day we're gonna do a stream where we talk about it, but yeah, that's like that's like the gist of my
Aw.
coming out story. And it was like, you know, definitely when I came out, I got a lot of people who I grew up with unfollow me for sure. Especially when I like opened up about it on social media. Like I didn't open up about it on social media right away. It took me going to college to be like, I'm gay. And I remember like I came out to like my high school friends at like at a party like our senior year, and everyone was pretty supportive. Definitely like some people who thought it was weird, and like granted, a lot of people ended up unfollowing me too because of my politics. Like I said, I grew up in a very conservative area, but I've always been very vocal about my politics, and I was not annoying, but like I made it very clear that if you voted for Trump in 2016, that you're a fucking dumbass, you're stupid as fuck, go fuck yourself. And the same in 2020 as well. I was like, y'all can go fuck yourselves.
Do you have like the twin like psychic thing?
Twin
with-
sense.
Yeah,
Twin
telepathy.
sense.
I would
Yeah.
say like maybe in like not the traditional sense of telepathy, but like I definitely feel very deep. I'm someone who's very spiritual. I feel
Yeah.
like all human beings are connected. I feel like there's like a unifying, you know, like language of energy, and that we all experience it and exist within it. So I feel like I can sense my brother's not having a good time. Like there's been so many occasions where like my brother doesn't really cry that much, not from like a I'm a man, I don't experience emotions things. He's just like a very hard-headed, like really confident person. And so when he cries, you know, when it rains, it pours. But like I always find myself calling him like in the midst of these like, you know, moments of just like self-doubt and like, you know, he like because when he cries, he like really melts down.
Yeah.
But I always manage to call him during them. So like I definitely feel like I can feel whenever he's not chilling. And like I always have like the sixth sense of like, let me call my brother. Or there's also other things too, right? Like that like my favorite story to tell is when I moved to the Pacific Northwest, I discovered Dutch Bros. And I talk about this on my stream, but I'm a huge Dutch Bros fan. Shout out to the Dutch Bros baristas that do me
Hell
right
yeah.
at my Dutch Bros. They know who they are. Some of them watch my stream actually, which I think is so fucking funny.
Oh.
That should have me dying. I'll never forget. Like I was like ordering a coffee, and this you know gay man working at Dutch Bros was like, and I was like, and he was like, and I was literally
Yep,
watching
there it
Austin
is.
stream, and I was like, and he was like, it was iconic. But yeah.
Fantastic.
Anyway, circling back to Dutch Bros, I lived for Dutch Bros, and when I moved to Pacific Northwest, was around the same time that a Dutch Bros opened up in my brother's town that he lives in Florida, and he was becoming addicted to Dutch Bros. So we, even though like timing wise, like, we even got addicted to Dutch Bros at the same time in opposite parts of the country, and we got the exact same fucking drink, and we both realized that we were drinking
So perfect.
the half and half drink, like one of the half and half beverages that we didn't realize was made with half and half. We were like, damn, this shit's good as fuck. It's because we were drinking like half and half and espresso. Of course
Yeah.
it tasted good,
Damn.
but yeah, we didn't realize we were like putting all that in our body. But it was funny as fuck. But that's like one of the
fantastic.
funniest little things. I'm like, oh, what a cute little twin telepathy moment. But also just like a lot of our views and beliefs align. My brother's base as fuck.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
I
word.
live. Yeah. He's not like he doesn't. He's not like listening to a song every day. You know what I mean? But he
Yeah.
like he's not like that woke. Not
That's
like
okay.
that. But
That's okay.
yeah. But he mainly because he's just like working in the soccer camp. I don't know, he's a busy guy. But he's definitely his morals and his heart is in the right place. So which makes me
Hell
proud. I'm like,
Aw.
but I'm like sometimes like that's my impact because I always say this on my stream. But like if I wasn't gay, my brothers would be MAGA as fuck. Like because that's just
Oh.
that's culturally and socially how boys were raised to think and exist. And
Yes.
a lot of the moral principles they were taught align themselves with Republican morals. I say moral
Yes.
principles because they're just bigotry and hatred. But yeah,
Right.
alas.
That's the patriarchy right
Yeah,
there.
I saved my
lo-
brothers from the COD lobbies. Because we
Period.
were all in
Alright.
those COD lobbies growing up. Like my brother and I,
Yeah.
my older brother. Like I was
We-
like,
And we're gonna make it political real
hello.
quick.
That's
'cause
okay.
This is a political pod.
Bubbles is joining.
And so, what are your calls to action for all of these upcoming elections? We're in the midterms, but the midterms do mean a lot when it comes to, laws in, Congress.
mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of in governor races as well,
Sure.
especially here in Wisconsin. So what are your calls to action for people out there?
Stay informed. Make sure you're registered to fucking vote. There's so many institutions at place right now that are working to invalidate people's ability to vote. I will never forget like moving to Miami and like how sneaky they are about shit. Okay, they're sneaky as fuck,
Yeah.
especially if you're trying to vote by mail. A lot of vote by mail like deadlines are way earlier than the fucking election, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
I had so many
Yeah,
friends
weeks.
at UM. I remember who like couldn't fucking vote because they didn't order their mail-in ballot in time. Like there's just shit like that
Mhm.
where I'm like, no, what the fuck is going on? And like some of them flew home to vote. I'll never forget. Which is badass as fuck.
Oh.
But yeah,
Damn.
at
That is
all
awesome.
costs, vote. And vote for DSA endorsed candidates.
Oh, period.
Like, I always like to say, be loud, be proud, and be unbowed. But also, because I haven't said it yet, fuck Ronald Reagan.
Yes. Emma says that every episode since we've started.
I love that.
I've heard Christians say that in a gaming moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yes.
Yeah, and lead with kindness and empathy and love, and remember that people are human beings and we make mistakes and we accidentally hurt people sometimes, and you got to show people grace and kindness and like the ability to learn. I feel like there's a lot of people who are really quick to first of all make assumptions about an individual's character based on one individual action. But I think a lot of people are a lot better off and are a lot nicer than we give them credit for. I think there's a lot of
Yes.
great people. I think evil people are not as common. Unfortunately, emo people find themselves in very influential positions, and evil
Yeah.
people strive to find influence because they're fucking evil. And a lot of like good people are just like, you know, byproduct of like, I don't want to do all that. You know what I mean? But there's a lot more good people out there than there are bad people. And like, I think it's really
100%.
easy to find yourself dooming that like everyone sucks. And like, you know, you go to a southern place, you're like, well, everyone around me sucks. But there is still a lot of those people are just really misled, really misinformed.
Yes.
And but they're still human, and there's we can get there.
Love
we
it.
can get to them. We can get to them. They actually agree with us on a lot of
Yes.
things, and they don't realize it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I say this as someone with like MAGA as fuck conservative family members who they see. I'm like, you're preaching a lot of the things that my socialist friends are saying. Actually, I'm like, you guys would actually agree on a lot of things. You're just like misled and, you know, vote because of your bigotry and not because of like what you actually want to see done. You know. Yeah, it's like the Spider-Man meme where it's like, wait, actually, we want the same thing. But I think a lot of conservative people will be surprised on how much they actually agree with socialist ideology and just don't realize that like they already agree with socialism and are participating in it. You know what I mean? All y'all went to fucking public school. I'm like, that is a social service. Like, don't piss me off. Like,
Yeah.
and you want more funding to go to those schools. So like, hello, you do have to like,
Yep.
Next time you come on, we're gonna get more political.
yeah, for sure. I'm down.
And then I have started saying, I changed mine up a little bit. The only difference between Chud and Chad is you. So take
Oh,
that to
you
heart.
ate that. I'm pocketing that. That is lethal. I love that. I'm pocketing that.
Be gay, hail Satan, and remember ballots are like bullets.
Period.
Hell yeah.
Eve. And Eve's outro.
And my outro?
Like what we did.
Me? Okay. Cat.
Yep,
Love
Oh.
cats.
So cute.
Love yourself.
What a lover.
sure.
Take care of your mental health. Be positive. You mean everything to this world, to someone. You are everything. Always remember
Yes.
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
Amen.